Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We are taking you straight to the Sydney Cricket Ground for the fifth and final test of the 2025-26 Ashes.
The big finale.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know what you're thinking, what a lot of the media is saying. Australia's already retained the urn. They're leading the series 3-1.
So it should be a formality. A dead rubber.
It should be, but the analysis we have stacked up here from all the top sources, it screams the complete opposite. Our mission for you, the learner, is to unpack why this match is maybe the most complex of the whole series.
That is the one thing every source we've looked at agrees on. Calling this a dead rubber just ignores these three huge pillars of motivation for both teams.
Okay, hit us with them. What are the core stakes here?
First up, and this is probably the most critical for England, is World Test Championship points, the WTC.
Right.
England desperately needs a win. A loss, even a draw, really hurts their chances of making it to that next final. There are real consequences here.
So we're not just talking about pride. This is about their actual standing in the world game. If they lose, how big of a knock is that?
It's significant. One of the analyses we read projected that a win could vault them into the top three, past South Africa. A really strong position.
And a loss.
A loss keeps them stuck, right in the middle of the pack. They'd be trailing India, and the path to the final just gets incredibly difficult. So yeah, the WTC isn't some abstract thing. It's a massive, tangible driver for England.
That definitely adds some real pressure. Okay, what's stake number 2?
It's all about momentum, the narrative. For Australia, they want to seal a dominant 4-1 victory, really cement their status as the #1 side.
Set the tone for the next cycle.
Exactly. And for England, that win in Melbourne was just seismic. It proved they can win in Australia. A second win here. That would fundamentally change how people see the whole Bazball project on the road.
So it's about writing the story for the next few years. And the third stake.
This one is pure emotion. This is the last ever test for Usman Khawaja.
A huge figure in Australian cricket.
A huge figure. And the sources are just full of stories about his teammates wanting to send him off on a high. It's his home ground, the SCG, and Ashes farewells there are, well, they're legendary. So this isn't just a game, it's a ceremony.
And that can be a massive driver. Or, I suppose, a massive distraction.
It can be both.
So you've got WTC points, you've got future legacy, and a deeply emotional farewell. This is anything but an exhibition match. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Starting with the psychology. How did England manage to flip the script going into Sydney?
That Melbourne victory was, it was like a defibrillator for them. You have to remember, before that match, the whole conversation was about whether they even had the mental strength to compete here at all.
And they broke a really long winless streak in Australia with that result.
Yeah.
That's got to be a massive morale booster. But let me push back on that a bit.
Go for it.
If their morale was boosted just by winning one game, doesn't that sort of show how low their confidence was to begin with? Is one win really enough?
That's a fair question. And one expert we read argued it wasn't just that they won, it was how they won. They showed a tactical discipline that was, frankly, missing in the first 3 tests.
Right.
They handled the Aussie pace attack better. They were more patient. That disciplined approach, that blueprint, is now proven. It's not a theory anymore. That's what they're carrying into Sydney.
And that English high is a direct contrast to the talk around Australia's form, which has been described by pundits as slightly fractured. What do they mean by fractured?
It's mostly about personnel. Australia's whole system relies on rhythm, especially with their bowlers. And that rhythm has been broken up by these nagging injuries to Cummins, to Hazelwood, and of course to Nathan Lyon.
So fractured isn't about bad morale, it's about a disruption to their system.
Precisely. I mean, Australia's depth is phenomenal, which is why they still won the series. But when you lose players of that quality, it raises questions about continuity, about consistency. Yeah. Especially in a big finale like this.
Let's talk about the guys who have been consistent, the statistical leaders. For Australia, Travis Head has been the standout, right? Over 400 runs this series.
Head's been unbelievable. His counterattacking, especially when the team's under pressure, has been a series-defining factor.
And for England, it's Zach Crawley who's been their most prolific run scorer. What's the takeaway from his performance?
Crawley's runs are just a massive psychological win for them. He's always been seen as, a bit hit or miss, but his consistency has given them stability at the top of the order that they were desperate for.
Right, it takes the pressure off the middle order.
Exactly. An analyst we read pointed out that his runs basically absorb that pressure that usually collapses onto Root and Brook way too early.
Okay, so if the psychological battle is pretty even, It seems like the pitch itself, the Sydney Cricket Ground, becomes the ultimate tiebreaker. What do the sources say about the SCG conditions? It's being called the key tactical variable.
Yeah, this is where we move from psychology into, well, almost into chemistry. The SCG pitch is a genuinely complex puzzle. It's often called a two-speed track.
We hear that a lot. Seam early, spin late. But for the learner, why does the SCG change so much?
It's all about the surface composition. The SCG pitch gets way more abrasive as the match goes on. It roughs up the ball, which helps with reverse swing later for the quicks.
Okay.
But the crucial part is what it does for the spinners. As the pitch dries out and those cracks appear, the spinner can grip the surface and get much more turn and, importantly, unpredictable bounce. The game isn't won on day one. It's often decided when that spin factor peaks.
So managing that transition is the real challenge.
It is, and the unpredictability is so high that the England skipper, Ben Stokes, he openly admitted there's, quote, no crystal clear reading of the track. That uncertainty puts huge pressure on the captains from the toss onwards.
Which leads directly to selection headaches. For Australia, with their injuries, what's the big question?
They're waiting right up until the pitch inspection. The big dilemma is that pace versus spin balance. The role for Todd Murphy, the young off-spinner, is huge here. If it looks like it'll turn, he's basically an automatic selection.
If it looks dry and flat.
Then they might just back their pace attack and rely on some part-time spin from Steve Smith later on. It's a massive gamble either way.
And for England, the sources suggest their decision is even more critical.
Absolutely, because they need a result for the WTC. Historically, England have underused spin in Australia, and this SCG test is one where they have to be bold. One analysis said their choice between a third-seamer or a frontline spinner could make or break their attack plan.
If they misread it, they could be in big trouble.
Big trouble. Imagine picking an extra seamer and the ball is turning square on day 3. You've essentially got a toothless attack for half the match.
Okay, let's pivot to the deeper narratives, the weaknesses analysts are looking at. We know Australia won the series, but where are they vulnerable?
The main concern that's been pointed out all series is their batting. Outside of Head and Smith, the lineup has just lacked consistency.
We've seen a few collapses.
We have. So if England's attack can be disciplined, if they can get Head and Smith out relatively cheaply, then that lineup has shown it can be brittle.
That's the opening for England. And on their side, that Melbourne result is being called a morale-boosting turning point.
It seems to have given them a license to play with, a bit more freedom, a bit more belief that they can genuinely challenge Australia here.
And Zach Crawley really embodies that change, praised for becoming a reliable contributor. But the analysis still brings up his perceived limitations. What are they talking about there?
It's usually two things. His technique against the swinging ball early on, he can get a bit stuck outside off stump. And historically, he struggled against high-class spin on wearing pitches.
And the SCG is tailor-made to test that second limitation.
Exactly. If Australia's spinners can tie him down on day 2 or 3, that pressure will build right back up again.
Right. Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's focus on the specific matchups. For you, the learner, the game is often decided in these smaller battles. Which ones are analysts pointing to?
The sources have really honed in on 4 key battles. First one is just top-tier batting quality. It's Head and Smith for Australia versus Brook and Root for England.
That's the engine room on both sides. If they fire, the runs will flow and it protects the lower order.
Then you've got pace leverage. This is Australia's seam depth, even with injuries, against England's disciplined attack. Can the English bowlers maintain those tight lines they found in Melbourne?
To stop Head and Smith from counterattacking.
That's the whole game right there.
And of course, the spin influence. We keep coming back to it.
We have to. The SCG guarantees spin will be a factor. Whether it's Murphy for Australia or someone for England, that player's performance on days 3 and 4 could be the single most decisive part of the match.
And finally, the mental edge, which sort of brings us full circle.
Right. It's Australia wanting to finish strong for Khawaja versus England being driven by those WTC points. It's a fascinating contrast. Australia has the home advantage, but England arguably has the higher, more immediate stakes.
So what does this all mean? Give us the final expert verdict. Where's the needle pointing for Sydney?
The consensus from all the analysis is pretty clear. Australia are still the favorites. You can't ignore their record at the SCG and just general home advantage.
But,
and this is a huge, but not by a dominant margin, England has genuine belief now. They'll back themselves to target that inconsistent Australian middle order.
and the one decisive factor.
It has to be the pitch. The captain's ability to read it, it's going to be tricky. It'll probably favor the bowlers at times, especially early on. For both teams, this is a chance to shape the narrative for the next few years.
A legacy finish for Australia, or proof for England that Melbourne wasn't a fluke.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to consider as you watch this unfold. Even Australia's known batting inconsistency outside of their superstars, what unexpected role could that WTC points motivation play? Could it drive such a disciplined, aggressive performance from England's attack that it actually overcomes Australia's historical home advantage? That external pressure, that non-Ashes motivation, might just be the invisible edge England needs to walk away from this tour with their heads held very high.